what I'm saying, more or less. The chat feature will be transcribed, but it won't be shared. So I'm going to ask you to use the chat feature at some points. Feel free to share and know that that's just going to be in this space for us to read together, and it won't be shared after this call. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Margot. I work with Greater Richmond SCAN. I'm a trauma-informed education specialist and a child and family therapist at our CAC. I am really passionate about this type of training, especially right now, and this is a time where we need it the most, and in probably a slightly different way than we're used to practicing self-care. So I'm really glad that you guys are on the call. I'm going to go through a little bit of housekeeping stuff. I wrote notes to keep myself organized. You guys are all on mute, right? So because it's going to be a large group, I'm just going to ask that you keep yourselves on mute. Please use the chat feature at any point. I'm actually going to prompt you for a couple of questions to answer through the chat feature. And if you're new to Zoom, if you go to your bottom right hand-ish or middle right on my screen, it should have a little box that says chat. And if you click it, you're able to chat through your phone or computer, wherever you are. If you are blocked your video, right, because you don't want to be seen, I know for me, I'm an introvert, so I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like, boop, I'm just going to click this. No one can see me. No one can hear me. I'm just going to invite you right now to like unblock your camera so that you guys can see each other. And you can always block it back. But yeah, just for now, hello, awesome. And then go ahead and scroll to the side and just see each other. Just be with each other in this space, see one another, see who's on the call. And yeah, good. And then your community is created like right now. So our community is right now, right here, and it can't be like replicated. This is it right now. So see your community, right? It may change, it may be different day to day, and right now this is us. So see each other, acknowledge each other. And thank you again for being here. What else? I will be doing a little bit of talking on the impact of stress on the body and brain. And then most of our session today will be exploratory. And so now or at any point, feel free to stop your video. We'll be doing chair yoga. So if you're like, I don't want people to watch me do that, cool. You can block your video at any point. I did ask that you all come prepared with paper, just like loose leaf paper and something to write with. If you don't, really anything that you have, like lined paper, anything you have works, paper. And then for writing, if you have colored pencils, great, or crayons, markers. If you don't, a pen is totally fine. I did this with a pen and scratch paper the other day, and we'll use that a little bit later. Okay, why this training? I would love to know why you all are on this call. And since there's so many of us, I'm not going to ask you all to share that necessarily, but I will share why I think it's important. And then if you want to share anything in the chat that feels, yeah, that you're called to share, feel free. So as I go through this, my own process of the restrictions and the emotions that are coming from this pandemic, I'm realizing that it's really easy for me to cope in unhealthy ways. Lots of watching TV, I'm baking a lot and I'm eating everything I bake, which, yeah, a lot of sugar and stuff like that. So overeating, possibly over drinking, right? Some of the ways that we typically will numb out from life anyway feels like really, really accessible right now. And I'll just invite that some of us on this call are in professions. I mean, I looked at the list of folks that signed up anyway, and a lot of you, if not everyone, is in a helping profession. So you're used to serving people. Like some of us maybe even really attached to that. Like, I don't really know what I do if I'm not serving people. And some of us are really busy still serving people in their capacities, and some of us are really not. right? We can't be in the spaces that we normally are in to serve, and may feel, yeah, like not really sure what to do with that. And so for anyone on that spectrum and wherever you fall, I would just invite that there are, it's important for us to remember that we were actually like preparing for this all along, right? We spend our days building our own resiliency and building the resiliency of others. And now it's time to, yeah, it's like our call to action. It's time to like be in our resilience and trust our resilience and keep being in that so that we can be that for others, trusting that even if we can't do like the checklist stuff that we normally do, that even just our being resilient is doing something. And really what we're going to spend most of our time doing is practicing building our resilience through some of these practices. And I really want to just acknowledge that just us seeing each other and doing this practice together is one way to acknowledge and hold each other accountable for continuing to build resilience. Because I don't know about you, but it's been a little harder than normal for me to continue in my routine of some of my self-care practices that I normally would do. So yeah, if it's anything that you get from this training, just like it's just a holding each other accountable for continuing to build resiliency in ourselves so we can spread it, whoever we're with, whoever we're around, whoever we touch. And just consider that that's going to happen in your next interaction after this call. It's like that. Yeah, so it's not like you have to wait until your next meeting. It can happen right after this call or even within the call. I'm going to start how I normally do. All right. So if you've ever had a training with me, you know that I like to check in with feelings. And I'm going to check in with our feelings right now. So I'm going to ask that each of you utilize the chat feature. And I'm going to give two options. Okay. I'm going to give you an option to write a word or two that expresses how you're feeling right now. Or a scaling, so from 1 to 10, 10 being you feel the best you've ever felt, how you're feeling right now. So again, a word or two, how you're feeling, and or a number, 10 being the best. And go ahead and just find that chat feature. It should say to everyone. If it doesn't, yeah, really good. Okay. Seeing some responses now. If it doesn't, you can do that drop down and make sure it says to everyone. And then if you click on the chat feature, you can see what everyone's saying. We'll just take a moment and acknowledge that. Yeah, lots of overwhelmed, anxious, lots of 5s and 6s. Yeah, over it, get that, numb, helpless, lonely, grateful. Okay. Yeah, take about 10 more seconds. If you haven't, put in the chat, like you don't have to, and just consider that it's a contribution if you do. Cool. All right, yeah, same. I should probably utilize the chat, but I am also feeling some sort of way. Can you guys see my screen still? Rachel, give me a thumbs up if we're good. No?
No, okay. Someone, another person is sharing their screen, so if they could, I'll help them stop to share.
Got it.
Back. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rachel. Okay. Cool. So that's actually a strategy, and that's our first strategy, right? If anyone does work with, studies, uses the work of Dr. Dan Siegel, you know his name it to tame it, right? So really actually naming your emotion, whether it be writing it through the chat, saying it out loud, however it feels right to you, is an intervention in itself. It really helps us to actually decrease some of the feeling that we may feel if it's overwhelming just by naming it. And then of course it kind of puts it out there so we can get in front of it, we can do something about it. So there's your first strategy. Thanks for sharing. Cool. So I'm going to now after that, just gonna ground us. I'm gonna sprinkle stuff throughout this training, some mindfulness techniques. I'll go through the structure of it in just a minute, but we're gonna be sprinkling things through. So since we all just named our emotion, I'm just gonna like ground us back again using 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you may have heard this, used this before. I'm gonna explain it, and then we're going to practice it, obviously, silently together. So the way it goes is, I'll say, look around and to yourself or out loud if you want, name 5 things that you see. So you'll look around, I'll say computer, door, wall, license, phone, right? And then I'll say, now notice 4 things that you feel. So 4 things that you're touching or touching you. So glasses on my face, watch on my wrist, feet in my shoes, seat in my chair. And then 3 things that you hear. And so I can hear the computer, the clock ticking, and my chair. And then 2 things that you smell. I'm diffusing lavender right now, so I smell that, and I smell the fruit I just ate. And then 1 thing you taste, so the fruit I just ate, still in my mouth. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up. All right, so let's all take a deep breath. Exhale. And then look around, notice 5 things that you see. 4 things that you feel. 3 things that you hear. 2 things you smell. And 1 thing that you taste. Take another deep breath. And exhale. Okay, really good. So you can actually use this. I forgot to mention that a lot of the things I'm going to be sharing are things you can do with kids. I know a lot of you are at home with your kids right now. So you can use, if you have young kids, you can trim this down 3, 2, 1, or you can just choose one of them. So sometimes my little guys, I'll say, just look around. Can you name 3 things that are purple? Right? What do you smell right now? So you can really just use it in a way, whatever way makes sense. And the reason why this can help to calm the central nervous system is that we're really just integrating ourselves into what's actually happening right now. So if we're worried about something, or whatever's happening in past or future, we're just coming back to present, and that can help our brains feel a little bit, a little bit more integrated. All right, I have about 5 slides that I'm going to use to go over the impact of, potential impact of this time on our bodies and brains. And some of it's going to look very familiar, but because I'm not sure if a lot of you have had training in trauma and resilience, I'm just going to, briefly go over it. And before I do, I'm going to introduce another breath technique. This is good for focus. So I'm going to back up so you can see my hands. I'm going to use like a mudra, or just really a connection with my fingertips to go through this breath. So feel free to join. It's some people, it might feel a little uncomfortable. I don't know, I'll just put that out there because we're going to do sharp inhales and sharp exhales. So if at any point it doesn't feel right, just drop it. This was a breath that my friend Allie, who lives out in Denver, she owns a yoga studio, and she had posted this the other day to help with focus. So it's pretty new to me, but it's been really helpful since I've learned it. So you'll take out your hands, and we're just going to connect fingertip to fingertip with our thumb as we breathe. And we're going to take 4 short inhales and 4 short exhales, like that. Okay, so three more times. Good, one more. Good, release, inhale, and exhale. So what that does is really bring, kind of like forces oxygen into the brain a little bit more abruptly than a normal inhale and exhale would. Cool, I'm glad you guys like that. Okay, so the other thing you can do with this is actually, if you practice affirmation, okay, is actually using this probably without the breath, or if you're really skilled, you could do both, but to use your affirmation like a 4-word affirmation. I always use a 5-word one, so I'm gonna show that one, kind of cheat a little bit, it doesn't really matter, right? But it's just connecting body to what you're saying. So I always use I am in control, right? So I am in control, I am in control. Okay, and that's a mantra during meditation that I might use if I'm feeling out of control, or that's basically my go-to. I am in control. So consider that, and it doesn't have to be 4 words, but can always, obviously it works better if you have 4 fingers. All right, so here's where hopefully technology works for me. I was sharing before this started, like everything that could have possibly gone wrong went wrong before we started this. So I won't be surprised if something goes wrong. But I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna go over a couple of slides for our overview. Yeah, you guys can see that, yeah? Rachel, give me a thumbs up. You can see it? Okay, great. All right, so a lot of you may have had my self-care training before. This is specific to the time that we're in. Our objectives are really just gonna be to, again, go over this briefly, and I'm, again, terrible on time, so I'm gonna actually time myself for this, not more than 10 minutes for this overview. And then the rest of the time, we're just gonna be practicing the techniques. And hopefully at the end, we'll have some time for questions on resources that others wanna share. And so I'll invite you to do that at the very end. But if there's anything throughout that you have questions on, feel free to ask in the chat. And if I don't get it right away, it's just because I'm not reading it right now. But Rachel is helping me to keep track of that. And if we don't answer it, we'll look back after this training and I'll email or touch base with you all somehow to answer any questions. So please feel free to ask questions through the chat as we go. All right, so some of you may be familiar with the term paper tiger. This is, you'll see a picture on your left is a real tiger, and then picture on your right is the sort of a drawing of a scary looking tiger, right? And so unless you're Joe Exotic, right? A picture of a real tiger or being in a room with a real tiger is probably going to feel a little out of control, right? Our threatened sense of safety, our sense of safety may be threatened, okay? And we will likely go into fight, flight, freeze response. If you're looking at this paper tiger, it might look a little scary too, right? It's the definition here I have is one that is outwardly powerful or dangerous, but actually weak, right? So it looks really scary, but it isn't a threat to our right now physical safety. So I want to acknowledge that right now you may be faced with real and paper tigers. If the real tiger may have something to do with threatening the safety of yourself or your loved ones due to the virus. It may even have that threat of safety or for yourself or someone you know because of someone that you're quarantined with, right? We know some of us who work in different fields may know that some of the people that we work with may be in those situations, right? And so there may be an actual threat to our safety right now. What I also want to acknowledge is that there's probably a lot of paper tigers that we're exposed to right now. Okay, so those are those things that are scary and they're not a threat to our physical right now safety. But the reason I bring this up, so some of those examples, by the way, might be like the media right now, right? All the push pin notifications. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I have like 7, you know, from different news outlets. It could be pictures of people in different areas around the world wearing masks or gloves, or just the you know, the suffering that's happening right now. It could be potential threat of losing our job, right? So I want to acknowledge that those two types of threats may be present right now, like maybe even as we speak. And that the body doesn't know the difference. So the body reacts the same way, typically, to a real tiger as it does a paper tiger. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you may have those same responses. So right before I got on this call, right? I'm not a threat to my physical safety, knock on wood. But yeah, it's nervous to get on a call with 100 people. So my heart started to race, right? My palms might get a little sweaty. Meg Sander, a colleague of mine, did a really great presentation where she talked about all the biological responses that you have, and a couple that she was explaining was that your pupils actually dilate so that you can see more of what's around you, right? That your digestion slows because it doesn't need to digest at that moment, doesn't need to use that energy to do that, which may give you an upset stomach because you have lingering acid in the stomach, right? So there's all these things that may happen, whether it's a real or paper tiger, that may be happening now, right now as we speak, or may have happened last week or could happen next week, right? That we just want to be aware of. And another way to look at it is this model of the brain. So this is Becky Bailey's conscious discipline model, which I really like because it's color coded and it asks really simple questions from each part of the brain. So if you look at that red and blue part of the brain, that's that downstairs brain that we were just referencing that's really being ignited. And the responses that I was sharing, those biological responses, they're involuntary. So we don't choose to do them. The body actually does them to keep us safe and ready to, you know, fight danger if we need to or run from it. But when we're in our downstairs brain, we're not in a place of, yeah, like making decisions, using logic and reasoning. It's really hard for us to plan for the future. So consider, I don't know, certainly for me, like the first week this all happened, I was very much downstairs brain going back and forth from upstairs to downstairs brain. And because I had this training, like it was really helpful for me to acknowledge that that's what was happening. Because if we don't know that that's what's happening in our brains, it can feel very much like there's something wrong with us, right? Like, what's wrong with me? I can't get it together. I got to do this to help people. And, you know, there's something wrong with me. But actually, it's this like safety mechanism of our own brain to keep us safe. So then if you look at the green portion of the brain, that's the executive functioning state, which I was just talking about. So logic, reasoning, things like that. It really helps us to, if all these pieces are working together, respond responsibly, right? And be able to come from our true self, like what we actually want to express and do. If we're in downstairs brain, it might just be from that emotional or survival state. Right? So a lot of you probably know this already and may have taught it to some people professionally. And I'll just ask you to consider it for your own self for the next 60 minutes or so. That, yeah, this might be something that we're experiencing in our own brains right now for ourselves. Okay, so the downstairs brain, right, it craves a lot of things that we can actually do to set ourselves up. Oh, I wanted to show this too before I move on. This is something I got from the Baptiste Foundation. I did a training with them. And it's an exercise called, are you above or below the line? So if you look at the line, below the line is reaction. That's kind of like downstairs brain. And you'll see some of those thoughts or feelings there. And then upstairs brain is kind of like that above the line response. And so it's an exercise of like, if I'm feeling a certain way, like, okay, am I acting from or am I thinking from below the line or above the line? So the downstairs brain, again, if we want to shift, we want to go from below the line, okay, I'm right here, I'm in reaction, I need to move to response. We really just need to acknowledge and pay attention to the downstairs brain, right? This is another one of Dan Siegel's strategies called connect before you redirect. So really that's what we're going to be doing with each other for the rest of the training, is really connecting with that part of our brain so that we can redirect to this upstairs brain. There are a couple of, I'm going to put it out there and then I'm going to actually offer you all to utilize the chat in just a minute to share some ideas. But there are some things that we can do to provide some security to the downstairs brain ongoing. So first thing that always comes to mind, and that I've heard from others recently, is structure, right? So right now, structure may feel, yeah, like it's lacking, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't really have to be anywhere, so I'm not going to get up at the same time, or, oh, I can stay up late, right? Or I can just have meals whenever I want, I can eat whatever I want. So that lack of structure can actually be really disorganizing for the brain. So we want to continue ourselves, our children, whoever's in our house with us, and just like continue the same routines that we have been using, even up like until right now, like getting up and yeah, like getting dressed like you're going to work, right? My friend Renee, she might be on the call, Renee Bauer, she's a teacher at Broad Rock. She and I were speaking about like what I was sort of interviewing her, like what would you want parents who are at home with their kids to know about homeschooling? And she was super helpful in sharing some ideas. And something she shared that I hadn't thought about was that a lot of kids who have access to food are overeating. They're just like going into the cupboard and like grabbing for snacks whenever they want to. So she had either suggested, or a friend of hers had suggested that every day that family puts out a basket of snacks for the day, and that those are the snacks for the day, right? So you can have them whenever you want, but that it's not like you just like go into the cupboard and get whatever you want all the time, that she had a little more like routine structure over access to, let's see, I'm going over already, a little access to, more structured access to food like that. And then the other thing I'll say is routine in terms of checking in with social media and news. So when I give this training to professionals who work with people who are experiencing trauma, we often talk about setting boundaries around exposure to trauma. So if I'm speaking to another therapist about a case and I might be asking for advice on the case, I'm really going to share the bare minimum of the case. I'm not going to go into the whole history of the child, because that re-exposure to trauma might actually do more harm, and it's kind of unnecessary given what we're after. So same thing kind of goes for right now, right? Like check the news or whatever outlet you use in the morning and in the evening, and then try and limit your exposure to all of the exposure that we're getting right now. Something else that I'll add too is connection. So you'll see in that brain, that emotional state limbic system asks, am I loved? That's a basic need, right? And so connection, very different now, and still super important. So even making that a part of your routine, right? Having a, hello or goodbye ritual with your child, having a certain day. I have a standing phone call with my dad on Sundays at 7 o'clock. This is way before this. But now I know, because I'm worried about him being at risk, that we're definitely going to talk that one time a week, right? So even incorporating connection into a routine or ritual can help. And before I ask for your input, and some of you may have already been doing it, I'll just share this last slide, which is that us continuing to do these things over and over again is rewiring our brain, right? So really good that we're all here together practicing these things, and continue to practice them, because that's what's going to shape and build your resiliency for you to use now and in the future. So I'll leave it at that. And I'm gonna ask you then to, yeah, share anything in the chat that you feel like might be helpful. And if it just comes to mind a little bit later, that's cool. We'll be sure to share any ideas that weren't spoken through this training, maybe through an email. The last item. Oh gosh, let's see. Forgiveness was the last item someone asked. Yeah, so some of those rewiring is a gratitude, perspective taking, reframing, self-compassion, and forgiveness. And actually, before I forget, Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong that it's open to everyone, but Amanda Lynch, who works with SCAN, is doing, give me a nod if that's public, yeah. Okay, she's doing a loving kindness meditation tomorrow at 2 p.m. for a half an hour. If you have the ability to tune in for that, we'll put that in an email. That's cool, Rachel can do that, yeah, great. I also forgot to mention she'll be emailing you an evaluation, and if you complete, you'll have a certificate of completion for this training. So, side note. Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. I am going to move us forward. Let's see. Oh my notes. Okay. So what we're going to do now is be exploratory and practice together. Okay. So this is the time now where if you're like, I don't want to be seen, cool, introverts can click their stop video, whatever it is. I'm going to be leading us through almost like if we're going to be in like a 40-minute class together. If that makes sense. All right, so we're going to start with some coloring. I'm going to then invite some progressive muscle relaxation and some chair yoga. We're going to end with some breathing and a guided meditation from a children's yoga book. Okay, so again, feel free to participate in any or all of these, right? It's totally up to you. All right, so the first one we're going to do is going to be using our paper and whatever we have to color with. And this is something I learned recently that I thought was very helpful. And I actually did it with a parent and a child. So if you feel like, if you liked this and you want to do this with your child, I think it was super beneficial, certainly for me. So you're going to fold your paper in half. And then you're going to fold your paper in half again, so that when you open it, there'll be 4 quadrants. Like this. Okay, easy enough. All right. You're going to number each of your squares 1 through 4, just to keep track. And this is an exercise in doodling. So there is no right or wrong way to color right now. If you're like, I don't know how to color, I'm a terrible artist, it doesn't matter. Okay, this is a doodling exercise. This is just for you. And it's going to be a quick doodling exercise. I'm actually going to give some prompts for each of the squares. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to doodle. So real quick doodle. If you've ever done a training with me and we've done a countertransference drawing, it's kind of like that, except I'm going to give you a little more of structure around it so that we can organize our thoughts a little bit better. So on your first square, doesn't matter which one it is, first square, I want you to take out whatever you're coloring with and think about a time in the last week or two that you felt happy or excited. Happy or excited. And just go ahead and doodle. 2 minutes. Don't think too much about it, just doodle, get it out. No right or wrong. Got about a minute left. Okay, about 10 more seconds. It makes you happy or excited. Okay. You can always go back to that afterwards if you'd like. For now, let's move to our second box. So our second box, we're going to draw about something in the last week or two that made us feel mad or sad. Something in the last 2 weeks or so that made us feel mad or sad. All right. 30 more seconds. Okay, let's move to our third box. Third box, time in the last week or two where you felt worried or scared. Worried or scared. And 30 more seconds. All right, in our last box, we are going to doodle whatever you want. Get it out, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be related to a feeling, just a nice doodle. You still have some time here, but if you're finished and you would like to, you can title your boxes. And 10 more seconds. Okay, and then put whatever you have, what you're writing with down, and see if you can just do nothing except for find a seat. And we're just gonna let that be for a minute. So whatever came up, we'll just find a nice tall seat and take a quick scan of the body from our toes up to our shins. And at any point, if you feel any tension, any holding on, I want you to send some breath to those places. Okay, bring the awareness up through the thighs, and the hips, the base of the spine, and working your way up the spine. Yeah, and any natural movement that comes to mind, right? If you're familiar with the body keeps the score, right? We know that some of that stuff can download into our body. So whatever you need, keep bringing the awareness up, front side of the body, belly, heart space, all the way up to the shoulders, through the neck. Yeah, and then the whole face, the entire face, including the jaw. All the way up to the crown of the head. Great. So I'll take a deep breath. Okay. I won't ask you to share your drawings, but if you want to, feel free to hold them up. If you want to just see everyone's acknowledged. Awesome. Cool. Love it. Yeah, so again, this is sort of like, oh, these are so creative. Cool. These are sort of like that name it to tame it idea, right? And also just externalizing feelings, acknowledging feelings. I heard a quote the other day that, you know, we have to acknowledge our fear to get in front of it. So same idea. Can be really helpful for kids also, because, you know, sometimes we are talking about things, or, you know, the news is on and kids, you know, they're absorbing everything. And so it was a really good check-in with the child that I did this with, had no idea that the child was thinking or worried about the things that he was. Okay, you guys okay? Ready to move on? We're gonna get into some movement now with our body. So we're gonna do some, oh, the last square was just a doodle. It was whatever you wanted. And also, you guys, I just made up those prompts. You can do whatever feelings you want in those. I just made that one up. Okay, so we're gonna get now into some chair yoga. And so I'm gonna back away so that you can see me a little bit when we start. But first I'm gonna start with some jaw tension release pressure points. This was shared, if you saw that you joined the TICN meeting, I did this in the TICN meeting a couple of weeks ago. This was really helpful that my friend Mackenzie Payne did with me. She's my therapist. And I get a lot of, sorry, the screen was just shifting. A lot of tension in my in my jaw, which leads to migraines. So she had shared this, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm like clenching my jaw a lot these days, just kind of holding on. So I'll invite you to try this if you'd like before we move. So you'll make a fist, and we're gonna find this meaty part of our jaw. You can probably move the knuckles around and find it pretty easily. Okay, you might feel sensation. You might just feel the big muscle there. And then joint here, and then you're just going to lean onto it, just the weight of your head. And consider that the sensation might be a lot. It certainly always is for me. So you can, of course, bring your head up. If it's too much sensation, lean back down. But the whole point of these pressure points is that we're actually trying to find them and stimulate them so that when we release them, you'll feel the tension decrease. So as long as it's not pain, see if you can stay with the sensation for a little bit. You can move the knuckle around. And come back to center. And we'll try on the other side. You might be already notice a difference from side to side. One may be more tense than the other. Okay, come back up and just move the jaw up and down, side to side. Just release some of that. Okay. All right, we're going to start the yoga session with progressive muscle relaxation. With this recording and the evaluation and such, I'm also going to put in a script for progressive muscle relaxation for kids. It's going to be a little abbreviated. We're going to do the one for adults. Okay, so find a comfortable seat and plant your feet on the floor. And if you're leaned back on a chair, just consider coming away from it so that you have a tall, straight spine. And your eyes can be closed for this or just soft, right? Gaze can be down. Bring awareness to your feet, your toes, and I want you to scrunch your toes up into a little ball as much as you can. So you're just lots of pressure, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Deep breath in. And then exhale, release your feet and toes. And bring awareness to your shins. And as best you can, just squeeze your shins, engage all the muscles in the shins. Deep breath. Exhale, release the shins. Bring the awareness to the thighs, the front and backs of the thighs, and squeeze the thigh muscles, the hamstrings, contracting the muscles. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out, release. Bring your awareness to the waist area, the pelvis, the base of the spine, and hug in. You can crunch in, belly into spine. Bring the ribs in together, hug in, deep breath. Exhale, release. And bring awareness to the torso, squeeze everything in, chest, ribs, side body, hug in, squeeze the shoulders in. Deep breath in. And then exhale, release. Good, now bring the shoulders up to the ears, scrunch them up towards the ears. Yeah, make yourself look really weird. Good, deep breath. And then exhale, release, shoulders relax down. And we'll bring our awareness now to our face. Scrunch every muscle in the face, look really crazy. And then exhale, release. Okay, I'm gonna move into some seated movement. I'm gonna move back a little bit so that you can see my whole body. I'm actually gonna switch chairs. So while I'm doing that, just if you're not already there, find that comfortable seat. And we're gonna start with just some movements in our neck. So we're gonna take one hand, take it on one side of the neck, and just bring the ear towards the shoulder. And so taking this shoulder away from the ear and then bringing I have my left ear to left shoulder. You guys might be mirroring me, so it might be the opposite. And then come back to center and switch sides. And really just the weight of your hand is good here. Yeah, you don't have to like pull the neck. You're just giving a little bit of the weight of the hand and dropping that opposite shoulder away from the ear, create some space for the neck to stretch. Good, come back to center. And then we're gonna take some neck rolls, starting clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't matter. We'll take 2 rolls in one direction. Slow or as fast as you want. Right, you can stop at any point. And then go ahead and switch directions after your second round. Keep the shoulders away from the ears to make space for the neck. And come back to center when you're done. Okay, we're gonna take a side body stretch. So your left hand down onto your chair, right arm's gonna lift up, and you're just gonna take a side body stretch, a lateral stretch of the spine. Breathe into all those intercostal muscles, the spaces between the ribs. And as you exhale, go a little bit deeper. Good, inhale, come back to center, and we'll switch sides. Left hand lifts, then to the right. Inhale for length in the spine, and exhale to deepen a little bit more. Inhale, reach back up. Inhale, both arms up. We're gonna twist the spine. So left hand to the back of the chair or whatever's behind you, and right hand to left shin, thigh or knee. And then we're gonna inhale, tall spine, and exhale, twist. Your gaze can go behind you if it feels okay. Yeah, it's kind of like you're rinsing your internal organs out like a sponge, getting rid of anything extra. Deep breath in. Exhale. Inhale, reach the arms up, and exhale, twist the other side. Inhale for length. Exhale to twist. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale your hands down. And we're gonna lean forward. So you're actually just gonna lean on top of your thighs, whatever feels okay. Your hands may reach the ground or they may just kind of hang in space. Just opening up the backside body. And then come back up. And we're gonna open up the front side body now, so you can actually take the back of your chair if it feels okay. Lean back, open through the chest, open through the shoulders, and even through the throat if it feels okay, dropping the head back. Inhale, lift your heart up, and open your mouth. We'll do one more breath like that with a lion's breath, so we'll stick out our tongue on our exhale. Deep breath in. All right, come back to center. I've switched my view so you can see me. We're going to do some seated sun salutations. So we'll stand with our hands together. I don't know if you guys can see me. Yeah, you can see me well enough. So we'll inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold over your thighs. Inhale to a halfway lift. So your palms come to your shins and you create a flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Arms reach out to the side, big stretch up, connect the palms at the top. Exhale, hands to heart center. So we'll do 4 more of those. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, palms to shins. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep the arms up. Inhale. Connect the palms, bring them over the heart. 3 more. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Sweep the arms up, just connecting breath to movement. Exhale, hands to heart. 2 more rounds. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, fold. Sweep the arms up, inhale. Exhale, hands to heart. Last time together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold over the thighs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a deep breath in. Open the mouth, let out some air. And then for our last couple of moves, we're going to do a figure four, a seated figure four to open up our hips. So you'll take your right foot, take your right ankle off of your left thigh if it's accessible. It doesn't really matter what it looks like, just if you can feel something on your outer right hip. And if this is enough sensation, great, stay here. If you want a little bit more, you'll take your right hand and just below your right knee, you can just press down a little bit so that your knee is moving towards the earth. Take 3 deep breaths. And then release your right foot down. We'll take it on the other side. Try to get deeper into that. And see some of you have already like folded over. Yeah, just take it deeper. You can fold over this figure four shape. You'll just take it to whatever degree feels good right now. 3 deep breaths. Release the feet. We'll take one forward fold with straight legs. So if you can come up, you might have to come up closer to the edge of your seat. Let your heels come onto the floor. Your legs will be as straight as they can get right now. And then we'll start to bend forward, just taking a forward fold on our seat. I'm doing a lot more walking these days, so the backs of my legs, my hamstrings are tighter than normal. And so keep your toes flexed to your shins, and you'll keep that stretch really concentrating the back of the legs. And then find yourself back up, take your time. And we'll reverse that by doing one more stretch of the front side body, lifting the gaze up. You can use the arms of the chair, the back of the chair, and then lift the center of your heart up. And take 3 deep breaths with your mouth open. I'm a big sigher when I practice, so feel free to sigh with me. One more deep breath in. And we'll come back to center. Find a seat. Move my chair so that I can see you all. And we're going to practice one more breath to close out our practice. This breath is called bumblebee breath. So you're going to make a sound like a bumblebee. It's going to sound like this. You'll deeply inhale through your nose. So before you begin, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves. All right, this is a beautiful sound if you can hear everyone doing it together. Yeah, so if you feel comfortable, unmute yourself, and I'll start and you just join when you're ready. or around. Beautiful. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. You can go ahead and mute yourselves back. I love that breath when you hear each other. It's such a beautiful like unison of unity and sound. So thank you for doing that.
Unmute me.
I'm going to ask Rachel if you would just mute everyone because sometimes it's hard to see if you're muted. Yeah, good. And then I'll just share too that that breath is really regulating because of the vibration on the back of the throat, right? I was just talking to a colleague the other day. We both hum when we're nervous, right? It's like our body's way of sort of regulating the self. So feel free to use that whenever it feels appropriate. And obviously it's kid friendly, just buzzing like bees all over the house. So feel free to use that with kids. It also, it forces that extended exhale, right? So we're taking a deep breath in and then we're trying to make a buzz like a bee for as long as we can. And it kind of invites for that extended exhale, which we know can be calming for the nervous system. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to move a little quicker. I have just a couple more things I want to share with you all. I hope that was helpful. By the way, the chair yoga is, you know, I do that. The sun salutations are really great for awakening. So if you do practice yoga or if you have a mat and you want to practice it standing, it's really nice for energy boost. And then any of the folds where your head is below your heart, that's going to be nice and relaxing for the nervous system. Okay, so anything, you know, even with your feet above your head. So if anyone wants to just kick their feet up the wall before bed or something like that, that can be really helpful too for nervous system to calm down. Okay, just seeing if we have any questions. Okay, good. Alrighty. The other things I want to say about body and tension is please, like, yeah, go for walks. Walks are really great for creativity. If you need a break, a brain break, something like that. Also really good to get your heart rate up to boost your immune system right now. So if you're doing any cardio where your heart rate is a little higher, super good for you. I saw, you know, it's going around on all the platforms. It was like a alphabet and each letter had some kind of cardio thing you could do. So then you spell your name. So it was like, if I'm doing my name, it was like M, do 10 jumping jacks, A, 5 burpees, like, which, yeah, do what you can. But any sort of those types of things that are really great for increasing the heart rate and then lowering it can be really helpful for the immune system. Okay, I'm gonna say a couple more things, and then I'm going to end us with our guided meditation. It'll take about 5 minutes, and then we'll have about 5 minutes for questions and things. I also don't think there's anything after us, right? Yeah, Rachel's saying no. So if you want to stay on, obviously stay on, okay? A couple other things I wanted to share were yoga nidra. If anyone practices yoga or knows about yoga nidra, this is actually, it's like a yogic sleep. There's probably tons of free ones, podcasts and things like that. Really helpful for going to bed. Another way that our body is restoring and repairing our immune system is sleep. So getting sleep, super important right now. Yoga Nidra, N-I-D-R-A. You can find scripts. I'm sure there's, I can certainly share too if there's any yoga teachers who are offering that for free right now. Lots of stuff happening in the yoga community with all the teachers at home. So Yoga Nidra really good. It's also really popular and research-based for veterans. So a lot of veterans use this to decrease stimulation in the sympathetic nervous system. Should you share any yoga resources? Yes, I will definitely share some yoga resources for kids. I'll do that on the email. And actually, I'm going to end with one, which is a book for kids called Ready, Set, Relax. Okay. Yeah, order it if you can get it. Right now, I'm not sure who's who's delivering things right now, but this is like my Bible for kids guided meditation. And I'm gonna actually read one that's really nice for adults too. It's called A Trip to the Toy Store. All right, so it's short. All of these also come with their scripts, and then they come with discussion questions and activities you can do afterwards, okay? This is actually, I recorded myself reading this exact script and put it in YouTube, on Scan's YouTube channel. So you can actually access it and do it with your kids, again, if you'd like to. All right, so find a comfortable seat. And eyes heavy, you can look down at one point, or you can close them all together if that feels good. And take a deep breath. Take another deep breath, and I want you to visualize yourself in a toy store. Toys of every shape and color are stacked from floor to ceiling. Listen to the many sounds that fill the air. Hear the high-pitched sounds of bells ringing and buzzers buzzing. Hear the sounds of laughter from people of all ages as they talk and play. In a toy store, everyone is a child. This store is the biggest of its kind in the world. So breathe slowly and let's begin your tour. You come upon the most fascinating video game you've ever seen first. You reach out with both hands, take the controls, and begin to play. The graphics are fantastic, the color's amazing. You float through every obstacle, nothing can stop you. Picture yourself achieving a perfect score on your video game. Now you stop to look at a toy train. This train is exactly like a real one, only smaller. Hear the whistle blow and see the wheels turn. Smell the oil and the smoke. Watching the train go round and around relaxes you. Now look on the shelf and see your favorite toy. Take it down and hold it in your hands. Imagine yourself playing with your favorite toy. Remember this feeling. Look in the corner now and see a huge area filled with hundreds of small, colorful plastic balls and jump into them. Feel them surround you like you're moving in slow motion. Feel them massage and relax you. Your legs relax, your waist relax, your chest relax. Your entire body is calm and relaxed. Enjoy this feeling of relaxation. Breathe slowly and say to yourself 3 times, I am never too old to play and be happy. Together, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And slowly using your senses to return yourself to the room. And take a couple of moments to appreciate the good feelings that come with relaxation. So your discussion question that you could have with whoever you're with is, what was your favorite toy? What did you choose to play with? If you guys want to, you can share it in the chat. Mine is always my my pink bear. I think my mom's actually on this call. My pink bear is at my mom's house, but I slept with it until I was like probably 8th grade or something. So it's always my pink bear. And then your activity is making a board game or a card game together and just playing it. So I'll keep, actually, I think I'm going to do a couple more of those readings and put them on YouTube channel. So if you're interested in doing that with children or one for yourself, feel free to listen for those there. And I think that's all I got for you guys. I would love to, through the chat, again, just because there's so many people, share anything. Oh, I love you guys are sharing your toys. Share any other suggestions that you have. I'm going to just take a minute and look back because I know that there were some that I didn't mention. Beth Tolley, she shared this with me the other day. So cool. She's been participating in Bruce Perry's office hours. He recommends that we do a regulating activity after any stressful thing like hearing or watching the news. Yeah, and I'll share, Beth, if that's okay, I can share that out to this group since we have everyone's email. That is super, super helpful. And then I've been, keeping a standing workout time, video chat on the phones or laptops. It's like a mute the screens, just to motivate each other. I've been doing that too. That's been really nice just to like see people and practice with each other. Let's see, there's some more messages here. Okay. Is it okay to post your YouTube? Yeah, sure. Post all the things. Okay. I can't believe I ended on time, you guys. This is amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining. Again, we're going to share this video so you can share it with whoever you want. It's all for everyone. And if you complete our evaluation, that's going to help us keep track of who attended this for our numbers, which is really helpful. And you'll get a certificate of completion. So thank you again so much. If there's any questions I didn't answer, we'll read the transcript and I'll answer them through email. You guys be well. Thank you so much for being on this call, and please let us know if there's anything else you need. Bye.